Point number 2, learn to advocate for yourself, okay? I like to say that every person is the CEO of their own career. So here's the thing, if you aren't managing your career, who is? I know in the old days when you stayed 30 years or 50 years in an organization, and I realize SAVE is still one of those organizations where you can spend a whole career. I love that about SAVE. But the truth is, even if you spend your whole life in one organization, nobody has the same stake in your career as you do, right? No boss, no matter how good they are, they can't read your mind. They don't know what exactly you want in that 1-year period, 5-year period, whatever the time frame is. You have to help them out. So you have to learn to advocate for yourself, and you have to learn to negotiate for yourself, okay? And I'm sure you guys have all heard, so in the first book I wrote was in 1997, and we did research that indicated women were much less likely to raise their hands than men, right? Whether it's for a question or a new assignment or whatever. Of course, Sheryl Sandberg, 10 years later made that super apparent to everybody when she said, published Lean In and said, everybody, women don't raise their hands, right? Well, the math that we found was roughly that if there are 10 things on a job description and a man has 2, and let me also be clear, for the men in the room and for anybody watching this talk is not about what men do wrong. I love men in the workforce, everything else. This is not a problem for me, okay? Let's be clear. We won't go there. Trust me, just trust me, okay? It's not about what men do wrong. There are some of my best bosses, hands down, have been men. Some of my worst have been men, okay? But the reverse is, it's also true of women. Some of my best bosses were women, some of my worst, right? That is not a gender-defined thing, right? A great boss can be from either gender, right? So that's not the point. The point is not what men are doing wrong. There's a lot of people talking about what men are doing wrong. That is not what I believe in. What I believe, yes, and maybe in some cases, it is time that we talked about what men are doing wrong, right? So ladies, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have those conversations. Let us all agree that whining is not the way forward, okay? I'm not saying women are more likely to whine than men. I'm just saying whining, period, is not the way forward. You want to get what you want at work? There's a very clear way to do that. And that is about your performance. It is about market data. It is about comparables, right? You need to go in with an argument that makes clear why and how you are adding value to this organization and a proposition that has a win for them too. If you don't offer something to your employer for why they should promote you, why they should invest in you, why you deserve, based on fairness and performance, to get whatever you're asking for, you're not going to get what you're asking for, right? So we need to learn to negotiate with data, with real terms, not with how hard am I working or how do I feel or how much do I love this organization, despite how much you all love this organization, right? And the thing is, you don't normally have to tell men that. Men are capable of doing that. They do it much more frequently than women. Women have more tendency to believe trying hard is more likely to get a promotion. And I'm just telling you that almost no boss, male or female, is going to promote you just because you work hard. It's great that you work hard, but if you don't deliver the key outcomes, it doesn't matter that you worked hard, okay? So that is number 2. Any questions on number 2? Yes?
So your point is that for people to learn to advocate for themselves. If you are a good advocate for yourself, but you're also a manager of a team, what are specific suggestions that you could give managers in the room that they could help their team members better advocate for themselves without sounding obnoxious about it?
Right. So great question. 2 points I would point in there. One, here's the thing about women advocating for themselves, or women advocating, period. Women are the damn best advocators I have ever seen in my life when it comes to advocating for somebody else. We will take that. My sister's like a 5-foot tall, 98-pound pediatric nurse, right? She is the sweetest, kindest, nicest person you ever met in your entire life. You mess with her kids, I'm telling you, you're going to lose. I don't care how big you are or how good you think your argument is. She's going to rip you limb from limb, right? Because she has a fierce devotion, and a clear purpose and a confidence of the rightness of her argument, right? So actually, the reason I don't talk that much about women advocating for their teams is because we are actually usually really good at advocating for our teams. Where it gets awkward is when we have to advocate for ourselves. Suddenly it's like, now it's bragging, and now it's, it's other things, right? So somehow the brain switches to a different place, and we don't do it very well. So I think the other word you use, which is really important, is obnoxious, right? We think it might be obnoxious. Well, it is obnoxious if the point of doing it is completely self-serving and you have not given any thought to what's in it for the other side. Whether that's on a project, whether that's about a promotion, whatever it is, right? If it is all about you in anything, most people are kind of pretty turned off about that, right? I mean, not many of us want to spend time with people that only talk about themselves and only care about themselves. So this is about advocating, but it's advocating forcefully, both for the fairness and equity for you, and you prove that with data, and the benefit to the organization, or in your case, ultimately to the children, right? If you're arguing from those standpoints and people know that's where you're arguing from, you are not going to be obnoxious. You're going to be committed. You're going to be determined. You're going to be confident. Those are the words I want you to be when you're negotiating. Informed, thoughtful, realistic. Those are the words, the adjectives I want people to think about you when you're negotiating. Not selfish, obnoxious, unrealistic, whining. Those are not the words that I want, male or female. That doesn't matter, right? That's the way I would go about it. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions or comments on number 2?
I have a couple on the line, actually.
Okay, go for it.
Two folks on the line making the point. Andy, first, don't we think that a lot of this starts in school, where women don't believe in themselves? And then from Melissa, in some cases, it also starts in the home as a child.
There is no doubt that you are built as a product of your environment. There's a genetic component. Like I do look and sound exactly like my mom. I'm just 6 inches taller. So there is a genetic component that is undeniable, right? She speaks fast. She uses her hands. We have a lot in common. Okay. But then there's also the environmental piece. I will tell you, in my family, so I told you I had this sister. This sister is like, we're Irish twins. She's 13 months older, right? And she is small and cute, and she was more quiet and shy and demure, and her way of getting along in the world was to kind of nod nicely and then go do what she was going to do anyway, right? She did not take you on directly, right? Okay, well, for the first 6 years of my life, my dad had 2 daughters. I was the second daughter. I was significantly taller, significantly louder, significantly, not smarter. My sister and I are equally smart. We're just smart in different ways, right? So I was more outspoken, et cetera. So I was raised to be the only boy because there was no other boy, right? So at 7, when my brother came along, it was too late to take that back, right? It was too late to then pretend like now you need to be quiet and shy and demure because these are the things that a girl should be in our home, right? And so now I will tell you that led to all sorts of things going wrong, but it also led for me really figuring out who I was and fighting with my parents all the way through to about 20 about who I was going to be in the world. And today my dad will tell me, he looks at me with tears in his eyes, and says, honey, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad you never listened to me, right? And it's true. So we are a product of our upbringing. We are a product of our environment. I do believe, and I talk about this all the time on university campuses, we have to figure out how we're going to raise kids differently. If you look at my second book, which was published by the Kellogg School of Management, there are recommendations in the back of that book that specifically talk about how we have to raise boys and girls differently. It's not enough. You guys know this from the work you do, right? When we empower women, how many times have we learned in the past couple decades that when you empower women, it doesn't go better for women in some developing markets. It goes worse. Right? It is both of us need to be raised differently, need to be seen as, if a boy's going to pick a team for baseball, why is it not okay to pick a girl if she's the best hitter, right? Who cares whether it's a boy or a girl, et cetera. So I do think it's about raising our kids differently. Unfortunately, we don't all get to control all of that, right? We can live in a different country and there might be more control over that, but that is not what we're going to be doing in America. So I can only advocate for what happens after you are already your own person. So let's call that 15, 18, whatever that time period is where you flip the switch and you're now in control of your life. Now you need to do things differently, and you need to fight your upbringing if your upbringing didn't support you being this kind of person in the American workforce.